All right, happy Friday, y'all. We got a big Rickey Report for today on May 17th. Yesterday, the Las Vegas Stadium Authority held a public meeting, and we had some interesting comments from Chairman Steve Hill. And Steve Hill is also the CEO and president of the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, so you might remember him from last year's meetings in Vegas in the Senate and the Assembly, when Steve Hill, for the record, and Jeremy Aguero, for the record, were bringing all their points and clearly on board with the A's. They're in the A's hip pocket, you know. And the biggest question mark around this thing as they met yesterday is the financing, as the A's still don't have a finalized financing plan, and John Fisher is looking for money. And 3 weeks ago, LA Times reported that the A's have hired a firm called, I believe it's Galosciotto, I'm not sure, Galosciotto Sports Partners, to attract an investor, perhaps investors, to secure about $500 million for this ballpark. And for right now, they're still, the initial projection was $1.5 billion, but a couple weeks ago, Vitamin D, an A's fan who's super locked in with the real estate world, and he spends time down in Vegas every now and then for conventions. So he reported that, just kind of rumors on the ground is that the overruns are going to go around 20 or 30%. So maybe it'll be more like a $2 billion stadium or 1.9. I think Allegiant was built for 1.9 billion. So maybe it'll be in that neighborhood. So for right now, the A's have the $380 million from Nevada. Of course, Schools Over Stadiums is still going to try to challenge that down the road, but for now they have that. And here are some interesting quotes from Steve Hill via Brian Horwath of KTNV in Las Vegas about the financing. Of course, Cavill and Fisher were not there, but here's what Hill said. He said, "I think John's looking at options. I don't think it's necessarily out of need. I also think that the funding is the most efficient for the A's." So they're looking for money. So I guess Fisher will pony up, I don't know, maybe $1 billion. And they're looking for that other $500 million for the stadium. And also Hill was asked if he thought that Fisher would be able to foot the whole bill for the entire thing if necessary. And this was his response. He said he has the ability to do that. Yeah. So, all right. I guess Fisher's got the money. Steve Hill isn't worried. And, it's been a year and they've been out there and they still don't have financing. I'm still pretty skeptical, but Hill sounded pretty dismissive about the whole thing, really, and any doubts. I thought it was a pretty interesting clip from Hill via Alan Snell of LV Sports Biz, who was in the building.
Clear what they're doing. They're coming. They've said they can finance this stadium. They are going to play baseball here in 2028. I frankly think it's just fun to create some drama around it, and that's happening. Keeps all of our lives a little more interesting, but it doesn't change the facts on the ground, which is they've said what they're going to do, and they're just doing it.
So the authority usually meets monthly, but Horwath reported that they won't be meeting in June. And Hill said that it's pretty likely the A's will have a financing development agreement by July. So, I guess he seems pretty optimistic that Fisher's going to get this in order in the next 2 months. Of course, we had Vital Vegas on the podcast a few weeks ago. He's been one of the biggest skeptics of this whole thing. He's been talking to big shots on the Strip who say otherwise, but I guess the MGM CEO Steve Hornbuckle is on board. Of course, they would be having all they would be operating most of the casinos and everything around the stadium if it does indeed go in Tropicana. And of course, the 9 acres, they say they're still, I guess, planning on 9 acres on the 35-acre lot. Where on that lot exactly is still not sure. Initially, it was going to be on the southeastern corner, I believe, but that's now up in the air. So still a lot of question marks in here, but hey, I guess Steve Hill thinks they're going to have a development agreement in 2 months, so they're going to get this all figured out by July. Seems pretty ambitious to me. So the development agreement is the big one that should contain the financing details for the ballpark, and you would think the finalized location, you would think it would be the final thing. And who knows? Maybe even a finalized design instead of these fake renderings that we've seen. So, a lot of things to be finalized in these next 2 months. I don't know if Steve Hill's going to end up regretting those words or kind of paint the A's in a corner. But it also sounds like they're not going to be meeting in August. So if it doesn't happen in July, the earliest we probably see this is September. So in March, the stadium. So there's also a couple other parts to the whole negotiation. Is the lease, which was presented last year, and then in March, the stadium approved the community benefits agreement. The A's are pledging about $2 million annually, which isn't much, pretty much peanuts really for an organization that big. And so they're still have to finalize the lease, the financing, and the non-relocation agreement. But on Thursday, the A's presented the non-relocation agreement, which would be for 30 years, which is pretty standard in these negotiations. But according to Horwath, the A's are proposing that they want to be able to have the ability to enter negotiations to talks to leave after 23 years. So stay for 30, but hey, we want to be able to get out and start talking at 23, so maybe they can get out at 25. Who knows? A's are already looking for a way out of Vegas, and they haven't even got to Vegas. But I also thought it was interesting to read the coverage of the event from Mick Akers of Las Vegas Review-Journal. Of course, he's been pretty lockstep with the A's message throughout this whole process. And here is his quote from Steve Hill again. He said, we now have a year's worth of experience with the A's. It's been an easy, professional, productive set of conversations. The things are just moving at the pace that they need to move. It has not veered off on tangents that we wouldn't expect or seem out of line or irrational. It's been a very workmanlike effort. So, Steve Hill's got 2 thumbs up for the A's. Maybe he's the only guy. And afterwards, Alan Snell of LV Sports Biz, he shared a tweet of a photo of Steve Hill with an interesting nugget. He said when the Raiders were going through this whole process with Las Vegas that Mark Davis was at every meeting, but Dave Cavill and John Fisher are nowhere to be found, which seems pretty on brand, I guess. And but Alex Marks and Chris Daly were there with Schools Over Stadiums. You guys might remember them from the A's parking lot. They were there, trying to fundraise, and we talked about that on the podcast a little bit with Hal. Make sure to check that out. Yesterday's episode 92. But yeah, so Alex Marks and Chris Daly were there for Schools Over Stadiums, and here's what Marks had to say. He said, "This project gets riskier by the day," via Snell from LV Sports Biz. So July will be a big month. They won't be meeting in August. So if not July, it'll be September. Stay tuned. We got a lot of stuff to see what's going down in Vegas, but it's time for the A's to put their money where their mouth is and show some real plans, because they're still trying to build in April. So Hill thinks the stadium could go up in 31 months. He said that that's what Allegiant Stadium went up in that period of time. So it's like 2 years and 7 months. So the A's are still hoping that the Tropicana gets demolished this year. They have a clean slate to build on by next April, and 31 months from next April will be fall 2027, about like November 2027, which of course will put them in line for opening day 2028. So that's like the opening day. That's like their best case scenario for the A's timeline. Let's see if they can pull it off, or in 2025 also the Clark County bonds will be voted on, I believe, and Schools Over Stadiums will try to stop that. They'll try to stop it on the referendum. They still have some lawsuit litigation, so still a lot of moving parts with this thing. And we also got some new news earlier this week on the Coliseum site. As Casey Pratt reported, the A's completed their purchase for their half of the Coliseum site on Tuesday, the 14th. So this deal was negotiated with Alameda County in April 2019. And at this point, 5 years later, it clearly looks like a land grab. At the time, the A's were saying, rooted in Oakland, they were fully committed. And I was convinced that the A's were actually making good faith efforts to stay. And I actually think they maybe were. I think the pandemic really and skyrocketing construction costs really threw this whole plan out of whack and made it kind of killed all the momentum that they had with the fan base and everything going to all the games in 2018 and 19. So this was back when the things were good. This is the good old days. And I think it's, I went back and read an article from the Bay Area News Group in 2019 to see what people were saying when this deal went down. So the A's bought it for $85 million, half of it, and the city of Oakland owns the other half right now. But so this is what Alameda County Supervisor Nate Miley said. Again, Nate Miley has kind of been called out for A's fans as being a Fisher sympathizer throughout this whole process. But at the time, Nate Miley said, the A's have come forward with an offer that satisfies their needs, but also keeps the A's committed to Oakland. And yeah, okay. And here's what Dave Kaval had to say. He said, in November, we committed a plan to honor and continue to invest in East Oakland, and this framework reflects that promise. We are pleased to be moving one step closer to redeveloping this site to meet the needs of this community. So at the time, the A's were committed to Howard Terminal. This is when they still kind of had the boxy renderings going, the first edition of renderings going, and they had a really, really cool plan to redevelop the Coliseum site into kind of like a public park. They would have kind of kept the shape of the stadium, but took down the second and third decks at Mount Davis, but kind of kept this, the bowl shape and all the seats. It would have just been a public park. Would have been kind of a youth sports complex is what their vision was for it. And here's a pic from Travis Daner. Thanks to Travis. I sent out a tweet earlier this morning because I couldn't find this thing on Google. But yeah, look at this thing. It would have been really, really cool park. And here's some more pictures from A's Fan by Design, Carl Morin. He shared pictures of the project and all the development that the A's were planning on doing, and incorporating the Oracle Arena in there too, with some residential, retail, entertainment. It would have been a cool spot, but nah. This was in the gondola life, the gondola phase of life. That was a great period of life. Just look at this beautiful 3D video rendering of the gondola. Pulls you into Howard Terminal. You walk down, from Jack London Square down to the ballpark along the waterfront. The A's are in first place in the AL West. Matt Chapman and Matt Olson are 34 years old, riding off into the sunset of their Hall of Fame careers with 2 World Series. But no, instead we have the current state of the A's. So, and also I thought it was interesting to read what Libby Schaaf said, the mayor of the time at the time. She said, if you sell this land, do not sell out East Oakland. You must include community benefits. You can't just take the money and run.
Hey, guys. Oh, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
Well, so where do things stand now? Earlier this year, so now that the A's own that half, they're already looking to sell it. Earlier this year, and last year, they met with the African American Sports and Entertainment Group. Last September, they reportedly refused an $115 million offer. And they met earlier this year, but I saw reports about how they were going to meet. I don't know how those meetings went. I just did some quick searches so I can do some more research on that, but I'm not sure how that things went. I didn't hear anything. But AESCG is also in negotiations with the city of Oakland to buy the other half, so they're trying to buy the whole thing in hopes of luring a team back to Oakland at some point. And a couple of weeks ago, Scott Osler of the San Francisco Chronicle reported that the A's are being sued by the Communities for a Better Environment. It's a California nonprofit environmental health and justice organization, and which claims that the county, Coliseum Way Partners LLC, which represents the A's, and team owner John Fisher ignored the state's mandatory Surplus Lands Act in the sales agreement. So, a hearing is set for September 24th in Alameda County. If the A's get sued, they'll have to pay their money back. If the lawsuit is successful, the A's will have to pay their money back, and I believe the sale will be null and void. So this whole thing's a mess. Everything the A's do is a two-faced mess. They said they're going to invest, and pretty much as soon as they bought this thing, I think a year later, they were coming out and saying, "Oh, this place isn't viable." So They just did the county dirty, just land grab. They knew that land was worth more than $85 million, so they got in there. But hey, they got the land for now. And we have some more John Fisher news as well. The A's are looking really bad by proxy after this hype video showed up. It was first brought to people's attention by Marks, who we saw earlier at the schools from Schools Over Stadiums, who was at the Stadium Authority meeting holding the sell flag. And he shared this little clip that you can see a hype. He said it was a hype video that he got sent to him. And as you can see, it's the Atlanta Braves A instead of the Oakland A. A lot of A's. I know it's hard. But here's the full video from last dive bar. They found out that it's from Vince Saavedra. He's the executive secretary treasurer at the Southern Nevada Building and Trades Union. And here's the full video.
One of the reasons we're here today, I think, is because of you. You know, I think the legislative leaders understand the importance of the, building trades and the unions as, the backbone of Vegas employment. And so for us, we knew from day one that this was, that you guys were a critical group for us to be partners with if we're going to be successful. We want to be as close to the community as we can, and you guys are going to help make that happen.
And if you also noticed, at one point they called Fisher the athletic A's president. I don't know John. He doesn't look athletic to me, and he's also not the A's president unless Cavill got fired, which I think at this point the A's would take. Just Fisher, not Cavill, instead of both of them. I think they would take that. But now he's the A's owner. So make sure you copy edit your stuff or maybe send it to A's PR before you send it out. All right, we also have some A's actual baseball news. They did a trade yesterday, minor trade with the Houston Astros. They acquired right-hander Brandon Bielak, I hope I'm saying that right, in exchange for cash considerations. Bielak's a 28-year-old right-hander reliever who got DFA'd by the Astros last week. He's been putting up some pretty ugly numbers this year. He's got a 5.71 ERA, 5.88 FIP, 1.67 WHIP, and 9 strikeouts and 7 walks in 17 innings of work this year. He's only been used as a reliever this year, but he also has some starter experience, and the A's are really struggling for innings right now. And so he's going to start out as a bullpen, in the bullpen, but he could get a look as a starter. That's what Mark Kotsay told reporters yesterday. And as of Thursday night after the game, Kotsay still didn't have a starter ready for Friday, but I don't think he'll be in the mix. It sounds like they'll probably build him up, but with Blackburn and Wood out for the next 3 weeks, Joe Boyle for at least the next probably month, if not longer, maybe next few weeks, and Joe Boyle's out with a back injury. They got 3 guys in the rotation who are out, so they need a lot of innings to fill. I'm guessing he'll be a long man, and maybe he'll get a look at a starter at some point. And there was also some other news. Ken Waldichuk, a starter, had Tommy John surgery, so he's obviously out this year, probably most of next year, and hopefully he comes back soon. It's too bad. And Jacob Wilson was out of the lineup again yesterday, the A's #1 prospect. As we mentioned on yesterday's Rickey Report, he left the game after the top of the first inning on Wednesday after he grounded this foul ball. Not sure if it tagged his left ankle, maybe he was limping off the field, or he also had a hangnail issue earlier in the week. But Martin Gallego said it was a minor injury, and Martin confirmed that he didn't get called up, but he just called it a minor injury, and they're not worried about it. So I'm not sure what the injury was, but I'm guessing maybe he got a little thing on his ankle and it was tough for him to run. But that's just pure speculation from watching some grainy video. All right, and last but not least, the A's had a terrible, no good, bad, terrible series against the Houston Astros. They got swept in 4 games and capped it off Thursday night with an 8-1 loss. About the only good thing was Zach Gelof getting a 7th inning RBI. It was his first RBI he had back since he got back from the injured list. A's starter Joey Estes was playing with fire all night long, and then in the 3rd inning they dropped 6 runs on him, 2 more in the next inning. So not looking good for the old A's here. They're going to be starting a 3-game set tonight in Kansas City. First pitch is at 4:40. Also, the only other cool things are that aesthetically it looked cool last night. Estes looked cool in his 68 jersey. You know, I don't know if that thing's ever going to be a game auction, but if I was an A's fan, I would definitely try to buy that thing and frame it. That's really cool. Kelly Green Oakland 68 jersey. And one more thing is that Brent Rooker has amazing batting gloves. Check these bad boys out. And Brent, if you're watching this video, which I know you're not, give them to our boy Gabe Hernandez. He wants those things for his collection. So I think that'd be really cool. So, all right, first pitch at 4:40 tonight. Also, the Ballers are playing the YOLO High Wheelers tomorrow at UC Davis. Tickets start at $5. And on Tuesday, the Ballers have their season opener on the road against the Glacier Park Rangers in Montana, but they're going to be hosting a watch party Tuesday at 6 o'clock is when the first pitch is at Downtown Athletic Club in downtown Oakland. It's a really cool spot. They got a million screens there, so it should be a great time. I'll be there with my camera, checking out the scene. So, all right, make sure to like and subscribe. Thanks a lot for listening, and we'll see you again on Monday with another Rickey Report.